welcome to another episode of Cricket Across America. I'm Aaman Patel, joined by Nate Hayes as always. And Nate, the USA men's team, they're back in action, and how great is that? Before we get into it though, how are you doing today, man?
Doing great, man. I'm doing pretty good. You know, a lot of great stuff going on. The cricket is a wonderful distraction right now. But yeah, we love that Cricket World Cup League 2. We've got some good stuff coming up with Major League, and then the coming days, some very exciting stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about all of that. We want to start off by thanking each and every one of you for joining us tonight. We see you guys down there. Please make sure to tune in the chat. Drop your comments, questions, whatever you want to be answered. We'll do our best to answer those questions or respond to your own thoughts. We love interacting with you. It's one of our favorite parts about the show, getting to have kind of this live feedback. So please carry on, put stuff down there in the chat, and we will get to it as soon as we can. Now, it's kind of been a packed new year in terms of cricket. There's been so much going on, but we've been waiting for the associate scene to start picking itself back up, and we got a little taste of that with Cricket World Cup League 2. We talked about how the USA team, they were in India. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. They were playing some warm-up matches up there. Now they're out in Oman, out there in the wicket. Maybe had the most interesting start to a day of plays cricket, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they had they had visa issues. You know, it's a shame we're not going to see Shea Jahangir, at least not yet. He hasn't had his visa situation sorted out. And unfortunately, that's also affected part of the crew in the production of the stream.
Yeah, it's quite surreal to think about all that, and it's quite unbelievable. And then it gives you another layer of appreciation for what's being able to be broadcasted. We obviously in touch with Andrew Leonard, who is doing all of those games out there in Oman. We love seeing Lenny out there, and he's texting both of us during the matches, just telling us the whole story. And he says, 10 minutes before the game, the buses aren't even here yet. So the first game was shortened down. It was 50 to 43 overs, and you know what? That was a good 43 overs of cricket, it wasn't, Nate?
It certainly was if you were a USA fan, and I'll tell you, they're at the top of the table right now, and we're a little bit spoiled because I'm starting to say things like, they better sweep this series, but, that was a great start to everything. They traveled to India specifically to get used to spin conditions like they were about to see here, but I'll tell you, the wicket looked great here on the first day.
And it started with the men up top, and some of the men up top, the order, Andres Khel, 76 off 83 with Milind Patel, 65 off 60. Became the first USA male in ODI cricket to get to 2,000 runs. They put together a 100-run partnership as well. And it carried the USA to really what ended up looking like a mammoth total of 293 in their 43 overs. And we can't forget about Milind Kumar's 54 in there. Don't forget about Saitesh Mukamala's 31. But it just didn't look like there was any chance that there was going to be for Namibia to get back into this game once they got the bat in their hand.
No, at the same time, there's always the question. Both teams have to play on the same surface, and that wicket did look really, really good.
Yeah.
And the question was how much of it was our batters making it look good, and how much of it was that it was just a great wicket. I think Milind Kumar coming in late and scoring the way that he did, it was encouraging because they needed those extra runs. I think there was a little lull there just before where we didn't know if we would get to that point. And I was thinking, well, they got to get to around 280 or so. They got to 293. They batting deep too. They batted 7 batters. Yeah. The worry for me going in was left-handed batting. They didn't really have it until you get to number 7 or 8 or 9. Which we'll get into that later. But it worked out for them. They had 3 half centuries in their top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. You see it right there. Milind Kumar, how good was he? 54 runs off just 34 deliveries. He's really become a staple in that middle order. And then with the ball in hand, I thought he was going to get a second fifer in USA colors. And I love listening to Lenny commentate about it because we've seen him bowl his off spinners before. And he just talks about us like they're just little quick drifters. They're just quick drifters. And Milind Kumar might take a little bit of offense to that too. He might say, I ripped the ball around. But they are. He just is so very skilled and is able to move the ball in a couple of different directions. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch our bowling lineup bowl the way they did. And Namibia was just never in this game.
No, they weren't. We had 6 bowlers who took wickets. Everybody who bowled took a wicket in the game. Obviously, Milind was the standout, but we got great stuff from Nosh and his quota at just an economy of 3. Sorab only bowled 5 overs in this innings. We're kind of used to seeing more from him, but I think right now, I think the spin bowling was so obviously going to dominate that they just deferred to that. Kind of like what the women's U19 situation was in Malaysia, where it was so spin friendly, you were going to bowl 4 spinners.
Right, yeah. It's just the way it worked, and Milind Kumar made use of it as well. They win the match, Milind Kumar wins player of the match. Take a listen to what he gave credit to going into today's game.
So yeah, getting into the groove again after the injury, coming back here, I was nervous before, but yeah, feels good to be, scoring. Nothing, we had a plan and we were doing according to the plan. The coach had and the captain told me a plan that, take some time and, then get to the business.
How good was that from Milind Kumar? Great to hear from him. And this game, again, just pure domination from USA.
Absolutely. And also we should point out Harmeet Singh with 2 wickets at an economy of...
So consistent. He's one of the best left-arm spinners in the world. And I saw an Instagram reel the other day, and it's from, I can't remember his name at the moment, but it's from our buddies down at the Reverse Scoop podcast.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he made a little reel talking about how his stats just compare with some of the world's best. It was the man alongside Nabil, and I apologize right now, but his reel there was phenomenal.
Adam, you're talking about
Adam. It was great,
yes.
that reel that he put out there. And Harmeet Singh's stats are
he's
comparable to anyone in the world.
He's a big Harmeet fan, which is justified.
Who isn't?
Yeah,
who isn't a big Harmeet fan?
That's true. I love the way that he varies his... He uses the whole crease. I love that. We talk about that a lot. He comes out here, so he creates these difficult angles.
Changed a number for him on this tour, too. He's wore 27 kind of his entire USA career, even domestically. Changes to number 7, so maybe feeling a little bit James Bondy in that sense as well. So his name is Singh, Harmeet Singh.
Yeah, but that's true. We got to also give a shout out to Sanjay Krishnamurthy for taking his first ODI wicket.
That was cool to see. It's kind of a mind warp for me thinking about Sanjay Krishnamurthy, because I remember in the 2021 Under-19 National Championships, why was he recognized? He was recognized as the bowler of the tournament, the best bowler in the tournament. And then since that point, it's almost like, yeah, this guy bats. He might bowl, but he bats. And it's like, no, he's a proper all-rounder. I'd love to see him get more overs. Glad to see him do it in Oman.
And you mentioned he was bowler of the tournament that time. Yeah. Everyone was expecting big batting figures from him at the time. He's good at everything that he does. He's a very skillful person. Have you
heard him play guitar?
Yeah, I just saw the reel today.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, Sanjay, leave some talent for the rest of us, my man. You can't go and hit 70 off the world's best bowlers, go and take an international wicket, and then come back and cover Bruno Mars. This can't happen.
And not to mention his ball and play league, his John Boy Warehouse ball and play league performances.
They couldn't pick him.
No, they couldn't get him. He was bowling these curveballs that were dropping down from the ceiling, basically.
And he's getting a degree. Yeah. And he's this guy, unbelievable.
He's very skilled. And also he can throw a playing card through an apple.
Yes, that's this guy has so many talents. And I know it sounds like we're rambling on and almost getting into this kind of glazing area, but I tell you what, this is quite special stuff. But we'll move into match number 2, because that's where some of the energy kind of dissipated, didn't it? It wasn't the match we were looking for. Collapses with the bat and just with the ball, no scoreboard pressure. And match 2 versus Oman, you see that right there on the scoreboard. We only managed to get 151 runs. We knew it was never going to be enough, and give a lot of credit to the Omani batters for putting in that score.
Yeah, they just dug in and they realized they just had to stick around. Yeah. Even Aaman Patel from Crick Buzz was saying in the Discord yesterday, if USA just bat 50, they're going to win the game. Yeah. I really feel like that is true. They bat 50, they're going to put another 30 runs on the board. That puts a lot of scoreboard pressure on a difficult wicket when we have very good spinners. Once again, we didn't see a lot of bowling. We didn't see a lot of overs from Saurabh in the match because we needed to take wickets, and actually we saw almost a full quota from Saurabh. We saw 9. Yeah. So, I think the spinners were the key. Saiteja Mukamala, was he fantastic or what? He didn't really get any support. He scored 80. The next high scorer was Aaron Jones with 15 from 44 balls. That's tough.
New year, same side, and again, this is a guy who has been pushed everywhere on this batting lineup. He's come to open, he's come at 5, he's come at 4, he's come at 3, and he just finds ways to score runs. This is a 21-year-old kid that already has 2 ODI centuries to his name.
Yeah, that's right. And he almost got one here. And I think if he had a partner that would have stuck with him, I think he might have got another one. What was worrying me was the amount, the speed that the wickets were falling for USA. Every single time the commentary was like, "Oh, Andres House is looking dangerous."
Right.
Oh, he's out.
Yeah.
Manong Patel, or not Manong, but like Milind's looking good, Aaron's looking good, out. And they said a million times how good Sai was. I was like, it was making me worried. But he survived all these commentary curses.
No, he just digs in, and when he just has this. I think Dane said it best, right? He's just a batsman. He just wants to go out there and bat, and he's just going to bat and bat and bat. Doesn't matter what he did the day before. Doesn't matter what he did. He's going to do the next day. He score 100, he score a duck. He's going to come out there with the same mentality, the same hunger to score runs. Remember, the end of that tri-series down in Dallas wasn't really a fruitful time for him. Comes out with a couple of low scores, and you're sitting there thinking, he might be on a little short of confidence. And then he comes back out and has just found runs. So, again, this is a kid like Sanjay Krishnamurti who's just very, very talented and is continuing to blossom. And that's what's really exciting on this tour, to see these 2 youngsters. And they were kind of the cream of the crop of 2021, weren't they? That everyone thought these are the guys. Sai was, he was the overall MVP. Sanjay was the best bowler of the tournament. And sky's the limit for those guys.
No, you're right. And minor league did its part to get them to this spot. I think also we don't play a lot of one-day cricket in the USA.
Yeah.
But these 2 cricketers have a great mentality, have a great adaptability, versatility. The people have often said that Sai's his speed is kind of perfect for one day. We've seen him ramp it up in T20
absolutely
in recent times. But the 2 of them, I think, have such a good head on their shoulders, have a lot of maturity. And my goodness, just to survive the bowling attack from Oman, it was everything looked dangerous.
Yeah.
The juxtaposition between Sai's incredible batting and everyone else failing made you think that maybe even with 151 runs on the board, maybe Sai was the only person capable of batting on that wicket in the world. So you thought maybe they have a chance because Sai looks like the only one who's capable.
Yeah, but again, it was always at home, just used to those conditions. They did it so often, Oman, against the Netherlands in that last tour that they had. And Jatinder Singh, just what a world-class player he is, 282 of his own. And again, stuck in, just made his runs, went about his business. But even with that loss, Nate, USA still top of the table of that Cricket World Cup League 2 cycle. Again, this is to get into that qualifier for the 2027 ODI World Cup. And they're at 18 points currently after the 14 matches played, so that puts them 2 points ahead of Canada, playing 2 more matches. This can change a lot.
Yeah.
But, to see, I think for the USA to continue 2025 the way 2024 kind of left off is really important to get onto the right foot, because we know how quickly things can change in this cycle.
Well, and that also goes to show how big it is when you sweep a series, like Canada did with their first series, 4-0. Right. And they're currently in second place, 8-4. And so they've gone 4-4 since that 4-0 start, but they're holding on to second place position right now. For me, the best thing about this is USA's in number 1 position. The second best thing is Canada's in number 2.
North America on top, that's what you like. Huh?
I love it. And Oman, we've seen Oman at the top of the table quite a bit in the last cycle. I think it's interesting to see them doing so well with such kind of a different roster this time around.
The last 5 games, they're 4-1. You know what I mean? Like they stopped losing, and they got home, and they just committed to winning. You talk about sweeping series, and they're doing it against good competition. And they're 16 points now, having played 2 more games than Canada. So yes, Canada's still with that match lead, but Oman can continue to rack up the wins here, and it could feel real dangerous. More action from Oman coming tomorrow, where we're going to see the USA again in colors. They're going to be taking on, of course, Namibia yet again. And, do you think we got more of the same coming our way, or do you think this could be a new Namibia team having played a couple more matches?
Well, I think what they lacked in this last game was a left-handed bat against the spin attack from Oman. I don't know if Namibia poses as big of a threat with that. I think that they do with a couple of their bowlers, especially Schultz, who seems to destroy USA, or has great numbers against USA, I should say. I would love to see a left-handed bat in that top 5 somewhere, and they don't have that right now.
Yeah.
Namibia is a very good team. They're going to have a lot to prove, but USA coming out of that loss, I think they've also got a lot to prove.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I got to favor USA. In the
I think we're always going to favor USA, aren't we? That match on Valentine's Day on February 14th from the same spot. They'll be at Al Amarat, and we'll see what's able to be done from the USA boys. Are they able to get another win? Will they fall yet again? They will have another match against Oman before the end of the series, so it'll be important for them to find themselves a win. What you got, Nate, on there in the chat?
Well, Samarth Barthwal, he's mentioning here what I said about how they were lacking a reliable left-handed batter against Oman. They got Stephen Wigg there. He's definitely a bowler. He can whack it a bit at the end. They should have sent Gaj Singh, he's saying. Now, we love Gaj Singh. We agree that there should be a lefty in the mix. The tough part is finding out who not to put in. We were missing Shea Jahangir, who's a right-handed batter. So we're missing even more of the spoils that we have already.
Yeah.
But yes, I think maybe the fact that Stephen Taylor has played as well as he has since being dropped, and the need for a lefty bat, I don't think it's too long before we see his face in the team again. To be honest, but yes, I definitely think that I wouldn't mind seeing Gaj Singh. He had a great summer here domestically, and we know what his class is. So I think, yes, I agree with you. We need a lefty bat in there. Let's see how the rest of the series goes, and let's see if that gets exposed, because I don't think until that gets consistently exposed, I don't know how much they're going to change.
Yeah, and excited to see a guy like Stephen Wigg into the squad. Finally be able to crack the squad there.
We need to talk more about that.
I mean, this is a guy, again, a genuine left arm seamer, different flavor than Sarabjit Thavalkar. Could be a major leaguer. He's kind of on the threshold, isn't he? So this could be cool. Smit Patel down there. What's up, Smit? How you doing? Good to see you. As always, and again, for those of you who are tuning in, we appreciate you, and please feel free to comment, leave your thoughts, your questions, anything you want to, where it's an open space. We love communicating with you guys about USA cricket, Major League Cricket, anything of the sort. We have so much to get into.
We spoke him into the chat.
Yeah, we did. Smith, we mentioned you a little bit earlier, talking about your chats in the Discord, so seems like we almost, it's like the opposite of the commentator's curse, wasn't it? It was kind of just the blessings that we were able to put in there. Nice hairdo. I'm assuming he's talking about you, Nate. I think your hair.
Yours is always nice. I think it's just a given.
I don't know about all of that, but your hair is it's definitely coming down.
There's mixed reviews. There's mixed reviews.
I haven't heard a single negative review. Where's the negative review?
Well, we don't have to talk about it.
There's always going to be haters. People hated the halftime show, the Super Bowl. People hate on dynasties. People hate on everything.
It's all right.
It'll be okay. I enjoy the hair, and I think everyone at home enjoys the hair as well. All right, we've kind of talked about the USA. Again, if you have questions about USA cricket or comments, thoughts about USA cricket, please put it down there in the chat. But we are on MLC Network, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it is almost that time. It's almost time for draft season and retention lists. We saw the social media post from Major League Cricket this morning where they said, we're back. And that just means things are coming. They talked about venues. They've talked about retention lists. They've talked about drafts. They've talked about everything under the sun. And I'm so excited. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm so giddy about the future of Major League Cricket, about what the season can bring, especially with all the things we've talked about. But this stuff gets me excited, Nate. The retention talk, the players, the strategy behind assembling a team, that stuff is just kind of, it's almost just in my veins in terms of what I enjoyed watching as a sports fan growing up, and now I get to see it happen right now in Major League Cricket.
And especially when you're talking about domestic draft, because that's where you get to the intersection of the two things that we love, which are minor league and major league. Minor league's the proving ground, and major league is where you get to actually, it pays off. So we've got obviously the retention coming up. They're going to announce the retention, and then after that, after a week or so, we're going to get the draft.
Yeah.
So many great things to look forward to in the coming time. So Smith Patel is saying we need a mega auction like the IPL. Well, we're going to sort out how that goes because this year is the end of the first 3-year cycle.
And that's important because I think that'll play on some strategies and might not be a draft after this, right? Like things could be very different after the 3-year cycle. I'm not sure if we need a mega auction. I like the idea of continuity. I just think it allows like fans and cultures and bases to build.
Right.
Think about Saquon Barkley on the Eagles. The
That's
Eagles
right.
aren't letting him go anytime soon. Jalen Hurts has become that.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of fans being able to rally around their favorite player and know that their favorite player is going to be there for a while.
Sure.
Mega draft even. Smith, I don't not like the idea, but I just from a fan's sake, from introducing new fans' perspective, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of having that little bit of continuity there. There could still be like, instead of being able to retain everybody, you can retain 3 guys, and everyone else goes back, and maybe that is mega auction. I guess in that way.
I think what we're getting to is at the end of this 3-year term, I think the players get a little more say in what happens, which I think is a good thing, because then we know. The smart thing to do in Major League Cricket or in any sport is to have depth where you have your difference makers. Mm-hmm. And that means sometimes the second best guy in a role in the whole country is buried behind the first best guy. And it happens to overseas players too. We'll get to it in a little while, but Kusago Rabada had a hard time cracking MI New York, if you can even imagine it.
Right.
So I think I'm very excited about this last part of the cycle, this last leg. And I think there's a lot of interesting things to talk about. I think I agree with Smith, who's saying we don't expect many changes this draft. Yes, but I think that the questions we do have are still super interesting.
Yeah, I don't think we had too many changes in last year's draft. A couple pieces fell in and out, but I think teams are starting to establish identities, right?
Sure.
And so it's how far down the rabbit hole of your identity do you want to go? Have you established it? Do you like it? Okay, we're going all in. Say, IE Washington Freedom, IE San Francisco Unicorns, or is it, okay, we have it, we're not sure about it, we might want to go in a different direction. So I think that's what this is for. So the way I kind of look at this before we get our retentions list is what could be the big storylines, what could be the big moves, what teams are the most interesting to look at. So I'm going to ask you first. I know there's a lot of teams, right? And we'll touch base about a lot of these teams, but before we get into all the nitty-gritty, what team for you provides the most interesting kind of analysis, decision-making process that you can have?
Well, I don't think Washington's going to make a lot of changes because they just won the league and everybody seems to be comfortable having you in that role. There's some things, we'll get into that soon. Same with San Francisco. They might be the team that changes the least. Texas Super Kings, they're getting good production. Seattle's getting good domestic production. To me, it comes down to my most interesting pick is MI New York right now because we have a situation where 2 straight years, clearly their formula is overseas bowling and overseas all-rounders. They have absolute superstars in these positions. And it's very difficult to think of them doing anything except for that.
Right.
But they haven't gotten any consistency at the top order from their domestics. And that's a big problem because it puts the team in a hole in their batting innings pretty early on. Yeah. This isn't to say that these players aren't very good and that they're not very capable of doing this. They just haven't.
Right.
So I think it poses a question to MI New York, which is, the answer kind of seems obvious. Do you drop a domestic batter here and go after a new domestic batter in the draft like they did last season when they got Reuben Clinton, and they got him early, which meant they spent a lot of money on him. Now you have 2 very expensive top order batters that are domestics that do basically the same thing, left-handed batters who bowl off spin, and they are Steven Taylor and Reuben Clinton. You got to choose, I think, between keeping one of them. I think you only keep one of them and you let the other one go into the draft. You expose one of them into the draft. You can always maybe get that player later if you want to.
Right.
But this allows New York to have a very, very high draft position to kind of get the guy that they want. And I think that brings a few different domestic guys into play. Now, of course, we don't know who everyone else is keeping or not keeping, but I don't see any big performing top order batters being dropped. I think they'll all be retained, all the big performers. That means guys like Akar Shigoma, we might see him go in the draft. We might see Utkarsh Shrivastava from USA, the local here, the youngster, who I think is high. I think they're high on him. I think everybody's high on him. And we might also see like a Sharad Lumba, who played for Baltimore in minor league cricket, or Asad Ali. And who had a great minor league cricket season. We know he's a very good player, and he bats from the left-hand side too.
Right.
So I think they have some interesting decisions to make now. If they do decide to go the unexpected route and decide to maybe add another domestic bowler to the equation, they already have Ishan Adil, Heath Richards, Rushil Ugrikar as the fast bowlers there. That's good depth at that position, and it's very hard for any of them to crack this team with the fast bowling that they have. I mean, you don't take Rabada, Trent Bolt, or Rashid Khan, these guys out of the team very often. If they do go that route, do you double down on depth? Do you get like a Jesse Singh who did really well? Bring him back in the team. Do you get a Janoy Drysdale? I think New York has the most interesting questions for me.
Yeah, I love that, again, at my New York, because of the large fluctuation, right? You had championship in year one and really just failed to find any level of consistency outside of Nicholas Puran's early goings in year two. It really provides that big question. I think for those domestic bats that you threw out there, I think Sharad Lumba's a name to watch for them. Because he does have some MI ties. When he was back in India, he was part of the MI camp back in 2018. So he's someone that I would watch out for just because you have that little bit of connection, that little bit of familiarity, and he had an unbelievable minor league season.
He was really fun to watch.
He was fun to watch, and we got to see him up close and in person.
I think that's a great way to think. I think that's a great choice.
But I think, like you said, there's some interesting questions. And for me, the biggest question I had with them on New York coming out of the year internationally was about Kyron Pollard, right?
Yeah.
This was maybe the first time we saw the ageless wonder show a little bit of that age. Didn't have any sense of consistency with the bat. Never really looked in any real flow. You go back to when they won it in 2023. They won it without him on the field. Does their best 11 look like a side without Kyron Pollard? Now, I know that's drastic for a team of MI anywhere across the world. Kyron Pollard's a staple figure. But is it you take Kyron Pollard out, because they've been struggling with the top order bats, Dewald Brevis slides in, and now you have a Dewald Brevis plus a domestic opening, then to Nicholas Puran, plus domestic at 4, to Tim David 5, Rashid Khan 6, maybe a Heath Richards slides in at 7 after his heroics, or almost heroics against the San Francisco Unicorns, and then from there you can go with, a Rabada, a Bolt, a Nash Kinjige, and maybe even one more lower order batter, maybe one more of like a Cheyenne Jahangir, a top order guy who can bat lower. I think that opens things up for you a little bit, and I'm curious to see if that's the direction they go in. So MI New York presents a lot of questions. Before I tell you who I think might be the most interesting, want to jump in with some of the Smith's stuff here. Might be some breaking news live and in person. He says, Head isn't playing this MLC. Freedom have a headache for that. Good pun on that one, Smith. Now, I do think it could be tough for some of the Australians like Steve Smith, like Travis Head, like Pat Cummins to play, Alex Carey to be a part of the squad because of the World Test Championship happening in June. So does that play a factor in their availability?
Absolutely,
They could be in England. We also don't know when the window is. Is it pushed into June? Is it going to be in July again? That's another big question, big concern, and could be something to think about. The Washington Freedom, that team without Smith and Head, that's a vastly different unit, right? That's where the batting firepower came from. So you have to rediscover yourself. So that could be an interesting wrinkle thrown into the season.
And it could affect their retentions. And it would affect their retentions
Absolutely,
for sure.
And Smith throws in another one, Shikhar Dhawan for the Freedom.
That's
he
what
was in the NPL. He didn't say that. He didn't say officially, but that's what he's reckoning. He says he's doing the rounds, and you never know. In the NPL, could be cool. We nearly had an Ambati Raidu in the first edition of Major League, so it would be the first Indian-based former Indian cricketer into the lineup that played majority cricket and is retired from cricket. I guess that's
a good point.
Way of saying it.
We did see him in Nepal.
Yeah.
We did see him in that wonderful league too.
Yeah, Nepal Premier League was great. So curious to see how all that plays out. My interesting team here would be LAKR, just the other team you said. I think MI New York probably poses that interesting question. But for me, it's because of the permutations of this being the end of that year 3 cycle.
Yeah.
Right? For LAKR, they've had 2 seasons they'd want to forget. There's been no consistency with the batting order. Their bowling has been solid with Ali Khan, with Kornei Dryad, Shali Benchkolkovic, but they've had no remnants of any sense of a bat, right? Umukchan's had 2 half-centuries last season, but outside of those 2 half-centuries, wasn't able to really get scores. Jaskar Malhotra had some good starts in year 1. They didn't bring him back in year 2. Nitish Kumar had some flurries. Saif Padars had a flurry, but they've never gotten the consistency thereafter. So my question for LAKR becomes this. You missed out having the number 1 overall pick last year on Hassan Khan, who would have drastically improved your team. So this season, who do you take, A? But B, what's the approach? Is it we're going to double down on our domestics because we want to just flatten this out? Who do we like? Who do we not like? Who do we think we can bring back next year when we think there's going to be an expanded player pool?
Right.
Or is there someone in this draft, or 2 or 3 players in this draft that we really love? Is Akshat Goel someone you really love? Is Sharad Lumba someone you really love? Is there a Zaid Alam that I really love with the ball for the Baltimore Royals? Is it Asad Ali? Do you really love 2 or 3 of those guys? And do you bring them in and say, we can revamp this team? The keys for them are very similar to the keys for Oman New York. And for me, it really rests on the opening batting because they haven't had any power play success. Sunil Ryan's tried up top, didn't have success, came back to the bottom. They have to find some level of consistency.
Yeah.
And so who do they go to? Is it just they take it as a wash, we're not going to compete in year 3? Or is it there's 2 or 3 guys in this draft that we really like and there's an international signing they can bring in that they really like? Those are my big questions. How do they revamp that top order? And they could do it in a couple different ways.
Oh, they could, absolutely. And they don't really have an identity right now. I think Unmuk's 2 half-centuries last season is great. If you're getting 2 big games from each of your domestics, then you're going to have a lot of success.
Yeah.
But yes, they don't really have an identity right now. I don't think, and like you said, Sunil Narayan for some reason always ends up having to freaking open the bag.
Well, he did a great job of it in the IPO. Didn't have that same success in Major League, so that'll be an interesting question for them. I think their bowling department, though, Kornei Dry, Shali Benchkolkovic, 2 of the premier kind of fast bowling all-rounders. That's a great place to start. Ali Khan, of course, great place to start. And then we can see how they kind of go from there. Didn't really have Adam Zampa last season. So, again, LAKR, a lot of questions, waiting to see some answers. Smit Patel's got some more stuff in here. He says, Monte Desai resigns as Nepal's head coach. Should we be excited? Now, what he's referring to is, I don't know if you remember, when we were talking about Cricket World Cup League 2, when it was in Dallas, he said that Monte's daughter attends university in the USA. And then he predicted that Monte Desai would be the head coach of USA all the way back in October-ish. Smith, if I'm misquoting you there, please let me know. But I'm pretty sure that's what you said. Should we be excited? Smith, your prediction is looking more feasible now. From my understanding of it was Monte Desai's his contract was basically up. There was no real plan to renew. And so then he kind of got the opportunity to walk off on his own terms. Doesn't mean he won't be the coach of the USA in the subsequent future. Wait and see. I'm not going to say no to Monte Desai because I think he's got this unbelievable culture building, and I think he could really revamp that USA team.
It's not an easy thing to do to win at this level.
No.
And it's a lot of guys come here from a full member setup,
right,
and they're not used to the differences. I think there are some guys who are just specialists at winning at this particular level. Monte Desai is certainly one of them. Pubadu is another one. But yeah, I think it would be cool to see that big V 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
He says he cannot wait for MLC to start. Gonna try to go to several Raleigh matches. Now we're hoping that we get some of them.
We're hoping it's coming back to Morsel, coming back to Church Street Park. Maybe we get some lights in, and maybe we can get some night games.
Gotta get
that
the
would
night games.
Save us from the heat. I remember sweating through everything.
Big V's got to agree with us on that.
Yes, Big V. No, we can't wait to see you out there in Morsel. Corey, he goes to UNC Chapel Hill, so I went to school with him. Good to see you here in the chat. He told me he was just a little bit scared to comment because he just doesn't know cricket. And I said, Corey, it's a welcoming space. Yeah. Everyone will answer the question you got.
We would have never known that if you hadn't just said so.
Well, right, sorry, Corey.
Everybody be nice.
I didn't mean to out you there, Corey. Smith confirming that Monte Desai's daughter does attend school in the United States. So again, could be something to watch for, and we'll keep a close eye on that. And if Smith, if that does come to fruition, we'll make sure to give you all your flowers of your Oracle ball and your glass ball that you have right now on your desk, that you can see everything in the associate world happening. We'll keep going here, especially if Shikhar Dhawan when it comes to the Washington Freedom. If you get both of those right, if he goes 2 for 2, we might have to do something special for Aaman Patel.
Yeah, we might have to do something special. Yeah, for sure.
But let's keep moving on here into these Major League sides. Now let's just go down kind of the order that we have listed out. So we'll start with the Washington Freedom. Don't expect too many changes, but okay, let's break down the kind of the base of their team. They've got their fast bowler, Saurabh Mehta. They've got their key bat, and Andres Kraus. Now from here, what is the area or position of need you see them most trying to fill or change, if they were trying to fill or change something?
Well, let's talk about some guys that I think are pretty safe to keep, and that would be Lahiru, who's back, who's there as depth for Andres Kraus, who can also bat as a domestic bat. He's fantastic from the left side. We know that Lahiru, from our own experiences, we know he can bat anywhere from 1 through 5 or 6. Yeah, he's fine. You can plug him in where you need him, and he's going to do great. Justin Dill, Ian Holland, I think great depth for Saurabh, and also give you the option to go with 2 pacers.
Which they did use for most of the season.
Exactly. And I think that's great. To me, the biggest question is domestic spin bowling. They have Akhilesh Badagam, Amila Alponzo, and Yasser Muhammad. Now, between the 3 of them, they got 1 over last season.
Right.
And I think that spells that's where you're going to if you're going to drop somebody, I think that's where it's going to happen, and you might go take a chance at going after somebody else.
Could be someone just younger, right? Could be someone that they feel, okay, let's see if he can kind of develop in our system, right? So
that's right.
Throw a name like Adam Khan out there just to throw him out there.
Yeah. The interesting thing to me is we talked about the World Test Championship, and they got a lot of great performance from the right arm off spin. I did it again. Right arm off spin bowling from their batters, and I don't. One of the very interesting things about Major League Cricket is the 2 most economical bowling styles in the league are right arm. Last season were right arm leg break and right arm off spin bowling. Yeah, which a lot of people might think is unusual, but we're seeing kind of almost a renaissance of right arm off break bowling in this format. A lot of it has to do with the drifter, and a lot of it has to do with we saw our buddy Dane Pete bowling right-handed batter behind his legs with the new ball, bowling the carom ball in the power play.
Oh, he was having a great time down in South Africa.
Oh my gosh, one of the nicest wickets ever. And by the way, he just won a SAT 20 with MI Cape Town, and it was hometown. And I think that's interesting because MI might be able to utilize him.
He knows all the players in North Carolina and all the youth prospects in the USA.
Yeah, bring him in to the fold.
If you need someone to be kind of an analyst or a mentor, there's your guy right there.
There's your guy. So I think with Washington, the big question is who's going to be left out internationally. Yeah. Because they addressed their spin internationally last season. And that makes me wonder if they decide, are they happy with the spinners they had and they just didn't use them because they liked the batting that the internationals provided? Sure. There's a lot of questions there.
And I think the one thing is that Rachin Ravindra should be available if he's retained. There is no conflicts with the World Test Championship per se, so he provides you that kind of left arm spin. And again, we don't know the retention, so it's all kind of speculation at this point. And Smith, you're absolutely right. Incredible Nepal Premier League for Lahiru. So that could answer the question up top of the order, right? It could be like, okay, we don't have Smith, we don't have Head. Maybe we try Andres, and maybe we try Lahiru up top of the order. Yeah. Or it's maybe we try Lahiru and someone else up top of the order, whether that's international signing, with Andres batting again at 1 down, rushing at 4, and then kind of switching lefty or righty gets out. And then maybe try to go after one of the lower order bats. Maybe see if Jamar Hamilton becomes available, if San Francisco are willing to let him go. Try to bring him in. Try to bring someone who can bat a little bit lower down the order. Maybe a Bhaskar Yadram fits into that
that's
mold.
True. Bhaskar's available.
You know, there's a couple of these big hitters down the order that you can go find. So that's my big question is, if there is no Head, if there is no, Steve Smith, where do they go from there and how do they figure it out?
Yeah, very interesting stuff. Very interesting. All right, we'll move along to San Francisco Unicorns.
That's good.
So I don't really. This is the one team I don't see making a ton of changes. Like they got so much performance from the domestics last year.
But they could be forced to make some changes too, right? Because actually they're kind of well suited to not make changes, right? If Pat Cummins goes, yes, you lose Pat Cummins, that's huge, and you could try to get an international to fill it.
They didn't really lean on him that much last year.
But because you have Liam Plunkett, you have Brody Couch, you have Carmine
That's
LaRue,
right.
and Corey Anderson can give you some over. So you have 4 options that bowl good pace, and then Janoy Drysdale would come in and fill in for Liam Plunkett.
Janoy, yeah, I don't even know if they can retain him because he was exactly. So, if they do retain him, yes, that's true. That does give them some depth. And obviously you got Tajinder Singh, who they exposed to the draft last year, and then got him back. Do they do that again this year? I don't think you do.
He had too good a minor league, I think,
this
season.
He was too good this summer to expose. He will go like that.
I think if you genuinely let Tajinder Singh out, that's someone who probably could get taken in the first round. Because he's been in Major League 2 years. He's had an unbelievable minor league.
Right.
He's a terrific fielder, provides just a lot. And that's why maybe you lose Jamar. Just because Hassan Khan isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Neither is Sanjay Krishnamurti. Right? You got him in the under 23, so you're fine on that price point.
Right.
But Carmine LaRue is not going anywhere. Corey Anderson, Liam Plunkett, those are round 1, round 2 guys alongside Hassan Khan. So there's an extensive payroll domestically. You feel like you might have to lose somebody.
Because you're playing Sanjay and you're playing Hassan Khan.
That could be a Kareem Agor where he falls out only because you have 2. I know they're both in the 11.
Right.
But with the extensive payroll that they have, they're going to keep 3 guys who are 1-1 in draft picks, right? 3 of them.
But I think Gore at the price point gives them great depth for those 2 players.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But you have to drop somebody.
Yeah, but you do. I think,
I guess the question would end up being, are you willing to drop Jamar Hamilton, who's almost 1 of 1, when you talk about ability to bat that far down the order and great gloves?
Yeah.
Or are you willing to lose Kareem Agor to where you still have Sanjay and Hassan Khan? I know they both play, but I don't know. I think that's the big question I would have for San Francisco. Who do you have to drop because of the fact that if you want to make a pick, you almost are forced to drop someone. You could all drop Karima and pick him right back up.
You could do that easier than Jamar because I think right now, if a player like Jamar with his
Washington is going to take him.
Yeah, Washington would take him.
Because he just provides you that bit of depth.
Something like that.
Especially if Mukhtar or Lahiru goes up to open, there's a guy.
And if Mumbai does, if my New York does what you suggested they might do.
They could also take Jamar.
If they go with just the Tim David in the middle, then Jamar's a very appealing pick for them.
I just think Jamar's so unique. He is, pardon my pun, a unicorn in the USA.
That's true.
That he becomes so valuable. And if you have to drop somebody, I feel that you're going to drop Janoy, you're going to drop Karima. Because I know the price points aren't a lot, but it allows you to make one top 5 pick. The 2 of them combined.
Like a fifth round, maybe.
You got, I think, somewhere between 3rd and 5th round, so it gives you a little bit of flexibility, and you keep probably your most pressing assets. All right, let's keep chugging along here.
Well, let's move to the Texas Super Kings. Now, they have an interesting situation. Milind Kumar and Sai both clicking with USA right now. I don't think they're going to get rid of either of those fellas. Milind hasn't produced immensely for Texas in Major League Cricket. He did have a one half century. We haven't seen Sai yet. I think that's going to change. But Joshua Trump, high price point, he showed some great flashes.
He scored for me. He scored a half century.
I don't think he's going
in
anywhere.
The Challenger.
He's not going
anywhere.
Calvin Savage has been fantastic for all rounders.
Fits that role.
Yeah.
Again, you talk about unicorns, batting at 7. Come in, hit the long ball, maybe give me an over, be great in the field.
And he's more of a batting all-rounder for them, where he was last season. He didn't bowl until towards the end of the season. Then you got Zia Ulhaq, who we've seen him bowl with the new ball. He's tremendous. I don't know if he's replaceable. I think the big thing to me is with Raj Nanan, it's kind of convenient for them. He didn't play any games last season. He's at a high price point, so he preserves the chance for them to pick really early in the draft if they drop him. Because you pick based on how much your purse you still have. He gives them a lot of purse to pick.
And here's why I think Texas ends up dropping him. Just because you have Mohamed Mohsen and Zia Shahzad, two frontline spinners in your side, probably the two best leggies in the country at the moment.
Right.
You don't need another one to turn the ball away. Rajanan's terrific, and someone's probably going to snatch him back up.
Right.
And Texas could be one to do it. They release him, get their second round money back, and pick him back up in the fifth round.
I think that's the smart thing to do because I don't think anyone is going to take him that high up.
Right. And if you're anticipating San Francisco to let go of Karima, you kind of have a 2-for-1. You have an opportunity to get either one of the two guys that give you kind of the ball turning away.
Sure.
You mentioned Sai Mukamala. How does he get his way into the 11? Is it really if Milind Kumar starts to falter off, is that his only way into the 11, you reckon?
I don't know about that. We know that they've leaned heavily on openers from overseas.
It's going to be a Faf Devin opening.
Yeah, we know that's going to happen. It's the smart thing to do. They clicked. They came through Devin more in the first season and Faf more in the second season. But either way, that's what they're going to go with. I think the great thing that Sai has on his side right now is he's batting 4 for USA.
Right.
I think he's showing that he can bat in that position. Obviously, it's in ODI. We'll see how he does in the T20. But I think he's showing to himself to be more versatile than I think a lot of people have given him credit for. So I think he gets his way in the team via that versatility. I think if Trump doesn't perform or if Milind doesn't perform, I think he's going to find himself a spot.
Yeah, no, I think Milind is going to find his way into the 11 to start the season just because he can bowl. Just because that little bit of option to bowl some off spin.
He's got a 5 for USA and almost another one.
Yeah, and he can bat. There's no question that Milind Kumar can bat and bat and bat. But he's a tremendous bowler as well, a tremendous asset to have. So
that's a great fielder.
And a terrific fielder. So that's what's going to keep you into the 11. I hope that we get to see Saitesh Mukamala make a debut. I'm curious to see, do they let go of Sai? And say, okay, we'll try to get someone bigger.
I don't think
you should, but I think that's another possible outcome there.
Do you keep Cam Stevenson? It's kind of depth for Calvin Savage. I think you do.
He's also depth for Zia Huck. If Zia Huck goes down,
depth for both.
You really don't have another guy. So unless you feel very strongly Jesse Singh is the one, or Janoy Dries is the one, or maybe Zaid Alam is your guy, and you want to bring him in, that's where Cam Stevenson gets dropped. It's just you have to identify that very early and identify your opportunity to go get him. And I think Rajanan is going to allow Texas once again to have a huge purse, and is going to allow them to get back into this draft and pick someone that they want in the first round. I think they're getting a first-round draft pick. They're going to drop 2 guys. Which 2 they're going to drop, we'll see. But I think 2 guys are getting dropped off, and they'll make a pick in the first round.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're going to want to. They have that space.
Yep. Let's keep trucking along here. Seattle, that's what's up next, and this is an interesting side because domestically, we feel like they're probably one of the stronger sides. Don't really have to do much, do they?
No, I think domestically they've got an identity. They have Shehan Jayasuriya and Naman Arwar at the top. It's not much reason to change that. We've got Aaron Jones who can bat anywhere towards the top or number 4. You got Harmeet Singh, Shubham Ranjani, Hamad Azam, Ali Sheikh as the domestic all-rounders. We know Ali Sheikh is a player for the future, but the future might be now. Harmeet Singh and Shubham Ranjani are very much players for now.
And the size on the roster as well.
Right. Cam Gannon as a fast bowler domestic, he was the Bart King winner in 2023. Who do you remove from this equation? I think maybe you look at Hamad Azam.
Yeah, that was at one point. Hamad, I believe he was at a 5,000 price point. Maybe a little bit higher than that was. But he was around 5 selection, or not 5,000, but around 5 selections. So,
round 5,
So he could be someone you bring off. And the reason for that is because you do have Shubham Ranjani there.
Yeah.
And as long as he's there, you feel like he's going to fill that role. I think ideally for them, if they can bring back Quinn DeCock, Ryan Rickleton, Heinrich Clausen, then you go Rickleton, DeCock, Naman Anwar, Cheyenne Jayasuriya to Heinrich Clausen at 5, and then you from there go Ranjani at 6, and then you can kind of go Harmeet Singh 7. You can fluster around from there, hoping that Ahmad Wasim comes back. For me, the big question for them is going to be their pace bowling. And that could be something you address domestically or internationally. It feels like it has to be done internationally with the names I've just spit out with you domestically. Obviously, Wayne Parnell was their captain year 1, got sick year 2. Does he come back into the fold? Nandre Berger was on this side. Does he come back in? That's my big question. Who are their international pacers they're going to bring in?
Well, that first season, you mentioned Wayne. He was fantastic that first season. Last season, it's a shame they didn't keep Andrew Tai. He was phenomenal for Washington. I think every bowler did well for Washington, but Andrew Tai was taking wickets at a really fast clip.
And he didn't have a lot of time to ease his way in. He got in one game before the playoffs. He played the kind of game where they knew they were the number 1 seed. They were fine. They played that one. And then Lockie Ferguson played the qualifier, gets hurt in the qualifier. And so A.J. Ty's got to go out there, and he's got to come out there and bowl in the final.
Yeah.
And what does he do? He was terrific in the final.
He was amazing. He was fantastic. Yeah, he was, in the chances that he got, he was absolutely fantastic. He's a wicket taker.
Yep.
I think Seattle could use one. And also, do you keep Aaron Jones? Aaron Jones has performed in every league he's played in except for MLC so far. I think that they're going to keep him.
I think you keep him. He's good depth, I think. And I know this is hard to say because we love Aaron and he's a phenomenal bat. But I just didn't understand messing with what was working. And if Shahan Jaisaria falls off with form, Noman Anwar falls off with form, that's where you put him in. I think you plug him in at 4. I don't think he should bat at 3 when there's opportunities to bat against the new ball. I'd rather see Shahan Jaisaria out there and then get to a guy like Aaron Jones, but we'll see what Seattle does from there. A lot of interesting questions for them. I think their domestics are pretty stable. Could drop Hamad. I think the big question for them is going to be their international pace bowlers.
And I think that's a big key spot for them. They need that. Now with if you do drop Hamad Azam, I don't think that he gets through this draft untaken.
No, he's going to get signed. Again, this could be another one where it's like you feel a reunion with MI New York could be inevitable. Come back at 4.
Or you mentioned even Washington wanting maybe to take
some depth, right? Yeah. So I think there's a home for him. It could be right back in Seattle. They could just retain him, just to give him some depth. And we've talked about it. The key for success in Major League, depth at positions that matter, and that's a position that absolutely matters. But those are the teams. Again, no retentions. We don't know their international signings or anything. This kind of just off the cuff. But we love to do this. There's all these different spectacles about how they're going to go about drafting. And we can't wait to see it. Again, we don't have a date for the draft, don't have a date for retentions, but we're hoping it's sooner rather than later and that we can get things done. Any last things on Major League for me, Nate?
No, just I can't wait for the season. There's a lot of things that will clear up in the next couple of weeks. Stick around. You're going to see it on MLC Network, either from us or from other people.
Well, we got one last little topic for us here. I want to talk about the Champions Trophy, Nate.
All right.
It starts in a week, February 19th, I believe, is the start date for the Champions Trophy. And the beautiful thing about this Champions Trophy, not this one in particular, this one in particular features 8 sides, the top 8 sides from the World Cup. The beautiful thing about the inauguration of the Champions Trophy, when it was the knockout trophy back from 1998 to 2000, was it was hosted by associate countries. I'm not sure that that's a well-known fact, but it was hosted in Bangladesh and hosted in Kenya back when they were both associate countries. Obviously, Bangladesh has gone on to be a full member. But this whole tournament was put out there as a way to spread the game into markets where the game wasn't that big.
Right.
That's brilliant. I feel like we need one of those again. Let's bring it back.
Yeah.
Cricket World Cup League 2 is a great start for that.
Sure.
But let's have a tournament where, yes, it doesn't have to just be associate members. And it could just be 2 associate members playing. But let's have a tournament where the associate members are hosting. That's the guarantee.
Right. Kind of like what we did here in the Cricket World Cup.
But genuinely, I think that's the great thing, and it could be co-hosting, right? And I think we're seeing more of that with the next ODI World Cup being hosted in South Africa, but Namibia gets a stadium, gets a game in there.
Sure.
I think more of that. So whether it is if there's a World Cup in England, okay, let's also host, I know Ireland's not, they don't really affiliate like that, but
let's do it.
Let's do Ireland. Let's do
Scotland, and England.
Let's do all 3 of those. And Wales is hosting some matches as well.
Sure.
If it's in India, let's host some games out in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, which they do. I just think that this is a cool opportunity and a great place for this to happen. And I think when there is this kind of fatigue of ICC events, right? A lot of people talking about this Champions Trophy, saying, what's the big deal? We just had the ODI World Cup. Now we're in a Champions Trophy. Does it really matter who wins this Champions Trophy? A great way to add value and context is to say, hey, this is an effort to grow the game. So go to this country that you won't play cricket at before, i.e. the USA, i.e. Namibia, go to Oman, play cricket there, play a tournament there, enjoy it, spread the game. I think that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely it is.
Well, if you guys have anything else in the comments, if you have some Champions Trophy predictions, a lot of people had Australia winning it, but Mitch Starc no longer available. That means Spencer Johnson's in the team, so that's exciting. We'll see what happens in that Champions Trophy. We thank you guys for tuning in this entire time. Nate, any last words for the folks?
Nope.
Well, there you go, Nate. He's clear, concise. He's ready to get out of here. We thank you guys for tuning in on this Wednesday night. We love having you guys around. We love talking about all things USA and Major League Cricket. We didn't have Babar Bhai yet again, but we can't wait to get him back and get me off the producing sticks.
He's alive.
He's alive. The show would not have happened if not for Bob.
Well, that's true. He was MVP tonight.
He was the MVP tonight. He was taking over our computers to make sure we had a show. So thank you very much, Babar Bhai. Thank you to all of you guys tuning in and listening. We appreciate everything that you guys do. If you guys are looking to support us in any way, please reach out, whether that's on Instagram, Twitter. They're linked down below in the description. You can also find us at Big Innings. We're looking for sponsors, looking for anything in any way you can support. Again, appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight, and we can't wait to see you again. For myself, for Nate Hayes, and for Babar Bhai, we'll see you next Wednesday.